The notification appeared on my phone at 7 in the morning. A bank alert. I was still in bed, half asleep, when I glanced at the screen. Account balance update $0. I sat up so fast my head spun. That account was supposed to have $42,000 in it, my college fund, money my grandparents had set aside for me before they died, money I'd been carefully preserving for tuition. I refreshed the app 3 times, hoping it was a glitch. The number didn't change. $0, 0 cents. Only my parents had access. My hands were already shaking as I threw on clothes and grabbed my keys. The bank manager pulled up my account history with a few clicks. Her expression stayed neutral, professional, but I could see the concern in her eyes when she looked at me. There was a withdrawal yesterday afternoon, she said carefully. $42,000. It was authorized with the secondary account holder credentials. My parents, I said, my voice hollow. She nodded. The withdrawal was legal. They had full access as co-owners of the account. Legal. The word felt like a slap. They drained my entire future, and it was completely legal. Someone I trusted emptied my future, and there was nothing the bank could do about it. I was still sitting in my car outside the bank, trying to process what had happened when my phone buzzed. The family group chat. My mother had posted 3 photos. My younger brother Cameron stood next to a brand new silver sedan, grinning with his arms spread wide. The caption read, "So proud of our boy, first car, he deserves this." The photos were time-stamped from yesterday, the same day my account had been emptied. The timing isn't a coincidence. My vision blurred with tears and rage. They'd stolen my college fund to buy Cameron a car. I called my mother immediately. My hands were shaking so badly I almost dropped the phone. She answered on the 3rd ring, her voice bright. "Hi, sweetie, did you see the photos?" "Mom, where's my college fund?" Silence. Then carefully, "What do you mean? My account is empty. $42,000 gone. Where is it?" She sighed like I was being difficult. "Honey, you need to calm down. Let me explain." "Explain what? That you stole my money?" "We didn't steal anything," she said, her voice hardening. "That money was in an account under our names too, and Cameron needed a car. He got that job across town and he can't rely on us for rides anymore." That's when she admits everything. No apology, no guilt, just cold justification. "Cameron needed it," I repeated, my voice rising. "I need that money for college. Tuition is due in 2 weeks. You can take out loans," she said simply. "Cameron couldn't wait. The car was a good deal and we had to move fast." "You never asked me," I said, my voice breaking. "You didn't even tell me." "We're your parents," she replied. "We make decisions for the family. You'll understand when you're older." The line went dead. She'd hung up on me. I sat there in stunned silence, staring at my phone. They'd stolen my future and dismissed my pain in under 5 minutes. I called my father next, hoping he'd be different, hoping he'd at least acknowledge how wrong this was. He answered with a tired, "Your mother told me you'd call." "Dad, they took my entire college fund. How could you let this happen?" He didn't deny it. He didn't defend himself. He simply said, "Your brother needed it." The words landed like stones. No explanation, no remorse, just acceptance that Cameron's wants mattered more than my future, that hurt more than yelling would have. Because it meant he genuinely didn't see a problem with what they'd done. Sitting alone in my apartment that night, I started thinking about all the years that had led to this moment. Every time Cameron crashed a car, they bought him another. Every time he failed a class, they blamed the teacher. Every time I succeeded, they said I was lucky. When I got a scholarship to a summer program, they made me decline it because Cameron needed help moving into his dorm. When I worked 2 jobs to save for books, they asked me to lend Cameron money for a spring break trip. This wasn't new, it was just finally undeniable. The favoritism had always been there, I'd just been too hopeful to accept it. My tuition deadline was 2 weeks away. $42,000, gone. Without that money, I couldn't enroll for the fall semester. I'd already been accepted. I'd already planned my classes. I'd already told everyone I was finally going to finish my degree after working for 3 years to save up. My future is suddenly on pause, and my parents were posting photos of Cameron's new car like they'd done something admirable. I finally confronted Cameron directly. I drove to his apartment, knocked on his door, and when he answered, I didn't waste time with pleasantries. "Did you know that car was paid for with my college fund?" He blinked at me, confused. "What? The $42,000 Mom and Dad spent on your car, that was my college fund. Money Grandma and Grandpa saved for me." He shrugged. "I didn't ask them to use your money, they offered to buy me a car. And you just took it." Without asking where the money came from, he crossed his arms defensively. "Why wouldn't I? I deserve something nice too." No guilt, no apology, not even a flicker of empathy, just entitlement. I realized then that he'd been raised to believe he deserved everything while I deserved nothing. When I told my parents I couldn't afford tuition now, they didn't offer to fix it. Instead, they demanded I be understanding and suggested I take out student loans. Everyone has student debt, my mother said dismissively. You'll pay it off eventually. So I should go into debt so Cameron can have a car, I asked. You're being dramatic, my father said. They expect me to go into debt for his comfort, for his convenience, while they sacrifice nothing. I contacted a legal aid office, desperate for options. The lawyer listened patiently, reviewed the account documents, and delivered the bad news. The account was set up with your parents as co-owners. Legally, they had every right to withdraw the funds, even though it was meant for me, even though my grandparents intended it for my education. Intent doesn't override legal ownership, she said gently. I'm sorry. I realize I may never get the money back. It was gone. Spent. And legally, there was nothing I could do. That night, I collapsed on my apartment floor and cried until I couldn't breathe. My entire safety net was gone. My path forward was destroyed, and my family was celebrating with a car. I felt more alone than I ever had in my life. But somewhere in that breakdown, something shifted. The grief turned into clarity. I stopped crying. I stopped shaking. Something in me changes. I wasn't going to beg anymore. I wasn't going to plead or argue or try to make them see reason. I go completely silent. I stopped answering their calls, stopped replying to their texts, stopped showing up to family events. Instead, I got to work. I applied for every emergency grant I could find. I filled out scholarship applications until my hands cramped. I picked up 2 part-time jobs on top of my full-time work. I talked to my university's financial aid office and explained my situation. They helped me piece together partial funding. It wasn't easy. It wasn't comfortable, but I refused to let them destroy my future. I was going to college, with or without them. 2 weeks passed. I didn't contact my parents once. Then suddenly they started reaching out. Text messages asking how I was doing. Voicemails wondering why I'd been so quiet, but they never asked about tuition. They never mentioned the money. They only wanted to know if I'd forgiven them. Not once do they ask about my tuition. Not once do they acknowledge what they've done. They just want everything to go back to normal. Against all odds, I secured enough funding. A combination of grants, scholarships, work study, and a small private loan. It wasn't the comfortable path I'd planned. I'd be working 30 hours a week while taking classes. But it's not easy, but it's enough. I sent my tuition payment 2 hours before the deadline. I was going to college, and I did it entirely without them. 3 months into the semester, I got a call from my mother. Her voice was tight with panic. Cameron totaled the car. I said nothing. She continued, rambling. He was driving too fast and hit a pole. The insurance won't cover all of it because of his record. We need help covering the repairs and the deductible. The money is truly gone now, wasted on a car that lasted less than 4 months. We were hoping you could lend us a few $1,000s, she said. After everything they're asking me, the audacity was breathtaking. I don't have any money to give you, I said calmly. What? She sounded genuinely shocked. You're working, you must have something saved. I'm paying for college, I said. The college you were supposed to pay for with the fund you stole. Don't be selfish, she snapped. The same word they used when they stole my future. I hung up. They didn't stop. A week later, my father called to arrange a family meeting. He said we needed to talk things through and reconcile. I didn't want to go, but something told me I needed to face them one last time. This time I come prepared. I wrote everything down, every sacrifice, every inequity, every moment of favoritism I'd swallowed over the years. We met at their house. My parents sat on one couch. Cameron sat on the other, arms crossed, looking annoyed. I sat across from them and pulled out my notes. I'm going to say this once, I began, and I need you to listen. I calmly listed every sacrifice I made while my brother was rewarded, the summer program I gave up, the money I lent that was never repaid, the jobs I worked while Cameron partied, the scholarship money they gave him for expenses while I paid my own rent. And finally, the $42,000 they stole. The room goes quiet. For the first time, they hear my truth. Cameron exploded. You think you're so perfect, you've always acted like you're better than me. I never said that, I replied evenly. But you've always expected my money to be available when you needed it. You expected me to sacrifice so you wouldn't have to. He stood up, furious. That's what family does. No, I said. That's what you do, take and never give back. My parents can't pretend anymore. The favoritism was undeniable now, laid out clearly. Impossible to ignore. I stood up and looked at all 3 of them. I'm cutting you off, I said. Completely, financially and emotionally. I'm done sacrificing for people who don't value me. My mother gasped. You don't mean that? I do. They finally realize I'm serious. My father tried to argue, my mother cried, Cameron yelled, but I walked out and I didn't look back. They tried to shame me publicly after that. posted vague messages on social media about ungrateful children. But relatives started reaching out to me privately. Aunts and uncles who'd watched the favoritism for years. Cousins who'd seen how I was treated. One by one, they told me they supported my decision. The family narrative shifts. I wasn't the villain. I was the one who finally stood up. Years later, I walked across that graduation stage. Cap and gown, diploma in hand, I'd done it entirely on my own. Worked 3 jobs, took night classes, survived on ramen and determination. My parents weren't there. Cameron wasn't there, but I didn't need them to be. I stood on my own, and that was enough. They chose a car over my future, so I chose myself over all of them, and I never regretted it for a single day.